My name is Timothy Omwega. I'm a student at Andrews University doing my Masters of Divinity and hope to graduate soon. When I was 7 years old, I had an accident. I almost lost my life. I remember we were playing at the terrace of our house, apartment. I slipped from the terrace of the apartment that we lived in, 3-story apartment. They tell me I fell with my head and my shoulders down. I lost consciousness, I was bleeding, and thankfully the neighbor was home for lunch. My parents were at work. This neighbor had a car and he rushed me to the hospital. My mom tells me that if that neighbor had not been there, I couldn't have survived. I had broken my arm, I was having a concussion, I was unconscious, and the doctors told my mom to be ready. Maybe I could not survive. My mother, who's a prayer warrior, reached out to the church members and told them to pray for me. She knelt beside my bed and prayed for me as well. God saved me, and after some days in the hospital, I regained consciousness, and she looked at me and told me, "I love you. I prayed for you. You're a miracle child. God saved you for a purpose. You should serve Him." From that point onwards, I knew I wanted to be a pastor or a missionary. I just wanted to serve the Lord who would love me and save me. And so growing up, I knew my calling was to serve the Lord. My road to Andrews took me a while to get here. I remember that day. It was in 2005, more than 15 years ago. I had just graduated high school. I was excited and thrilled about the prospect of me coming to Andrews to study to be a pastor. But when I applied at the embassy, I was denied the visa. I had been accepted to study here, and I had actually gotten a scholarship. I was discouraged, disappointed, but I tried to apply again. Again, I was denied a visa. That showed me that God didn't want me to be a pastor anymore. And so I wanted to do whatever that I could and just enjoy my life. I felt like God did not want me to serve Him. And so I decided to run away from home. I ran from my country, Kenya. Left home, didn't tell a soul, didn't tell my mother, didn't tell my brother and sisters. Packed my bags. I had some savings, little money that I had, and left to the country of Tanzania. Now this is where the story gets interesting. You see, while on the way to Tanzania, the neighboring country to Kenya, I lost my wallet, which had all my money, and my cell phone got stolen. And so I couldn't communicate with anybody. The bus drive was about 24 hours. I was hungry. And so I was wondering, God, what have I done? I'm already in the bus heading to Tanzania. Halfway through, I couldn't go back home. I'll be too embarrassed. I wondered what to do with my life. I had suicidal thoughts, felt like giving up. I said, Lord, if you really love me and if you still want me to serve you, help me find someone who can take me and maybe welcome me into their home, because I didn't know anybody. The guy who was sitting next to me in the bus started a conversation. I learned that he was a Muslim. He wasn't too old. He was about the same age as I was. And he asked me, "Where are you going?" I told him I'm going to Dar es Salaam, that's the capital city of Tanzania. He said, "Oh, I'm from Dar es Salaam. Where are you gonna be staying?" I told him I'm probably gonna find a hotel. Remember, I had no money, my wallet had been stolen. This guy looked at me and he said, "You know, we are going to arrive late in Tanzania. Why don't you come over to my place and you could stay there overnight and then you could figure things out the next day." I felt like this was a good Samaritan sent for me. And so I said, "Thank you for the invitation." And when we arrived in Tanzania, I went to his house and I ended up sharing my story to him. He told me, "Hey, you're my brother. You could stay here as long as you want. In fact, I'm gonna help you try to get a job." But I couldn't get a job. Then one day, he looked at me. I was there for about 2 weeks. He looked at me and told me, Tim, could it be that you're running away from your purpose? You're running away from your calling. That made me think. He said, I'm gonna give you the money that you need if you could call your parents and decide to go back home to Kenya. That man helped me, took me in, and he helped me realize that God had not given up on me yet. And so I went back home to Kenya, and I decided to apply again to another Adventist school to study theology. I applied to a college in India called Spicer Memorial College. God accepted and opened the door for me to go there. And so I studied for 4 years in India, and I thank God that He allowed me to go there. That's where I felt like I was grounded. I learned, my worldview was opened about different culture, this nation of Hindus and Buddhists, how they live, how they worship these idols and these gods. It opened my eyes to see that God wanted me to reach more people, something that I couldn't have perceived if I had maybe come to Andrews. After graduating, I became a missionary. God has blessed me. I have worked as a missionary in the Philippines, in South Korea, in Thailand, Laos, and then I felt the desire to apply to Andrews again. You see, when I was in Laos, I got married. My wife is from the Philippines, and God has blessed us with 2 handsome boys. My firstborn son, his name is Zachary, he's 3 years old. The second-born, Zion, is 9 months old. And so when we were in Laos, teaching and working as missionary teachers in this Buddhist country, I felt the desire to upgrade my studies, to go and study masters. And then I remembered Andrews. My road to Andrews had not yet disappeared. My desire had not yet gone. In 2018, I started my application to Andrews University. A year later, I got accepted again, this time to do my master's. And when I went for the interview, I got accepted. Me and my family got the visa, and we came to the US. Once we got at Andrews, I couldn't believe that my dream had come true more than 15 years later. You see, friend, God has taught me, just like Joseph in the Bible, that dreams do come true. If only we keep trusting Him and not give up. He has the best plan for us. But His timing is not our timing. I don't know why He didn't allow me to come to Andrews in 2005. But in 2020, I was here studying in the seminary, doing my Master's of Divinity. After all that time, God's timing was perfect. And now, in retrospect, when I look back, I'm glad that He had this process for me to go through, because if I had come here single, or if I had come here immature, maybe I couldn't have stayed in the course, stayed in the ministry. But He allowed me to grow as a person, to keep depending on Him. And now I'm here with my family. The journey has been awesome. And I'm graduating soon from Andrews University. And I look forward to see what is the next chapter of my life. I know that all things are possible, the Bible says, to him who believes. And Apostle Paul said, I can do all things through Christ. So through it all, I have learned to trust Him and to depend upon the Lord. That's my road to Andrews and my journey. Though it took long, God is always on time.